This is the Action 5 Pro, and with this camera you get a brand new 1 1/3 inch sensor that films 4K up to 120 frames per second and can take 40 megapixel photos. There are larger displays, a longer 4-hour battery life, subject tracking, and a new night mode for low light filmmaking. But how does the footage look?
Day 1 with the DJI Action 5 Pro, and this is just audio straight out of camera. I got this cool little vlog handle which connects to the Action 5,
and this handle has camera control, a magnetic quick release, a ball joint adjustment, a 3.5 audio adapter if you're not using the DJI Mic 2, tripod built in, and it's got a 1/4-20 thread hole for expanding and adding more things onto the tripod. Basically, this makes vlogging with this camera super easy.
I'm just doing a hike at sunrise, and this is a great way to see how this camera performs in this like mixed lighting, because the sun is just about to pop up over there. You can see it like right on the horizon, and I'm actually shooting in the normal 10-bit mode, so not D-Log,
because in this camera you have high dynamic range for all the video modes. And with this new sensor, you get up to 13.5 stops of dynamic range.
I want to see what I'm going to use when I'm out filming, because this camera, as you can see, is super stable and a great camera to be able to pop up, maybe do some vlog content, something like this. And whether you're using this camera as like your main camera, lots of bugs up here, or you want to use this as like a secondary camera, or like just an additional camera, there's some pretty cool features.
For me, when I'm out filming, I oftentimes will use a wider lens, like a 16 to 35 or 16 to 25, to shoot my vlog style content. But if I'm doing something where I want to also be shooting on longer lenses, I'm constantly swapping between lenses on my main camera. So having an action camera that has a really good looking image that I could trust is kind of essential, because I could keep this in the chest pocket of my backpack or just in my pocket and not have to worry about necessarily always putting on a wide lens to get these vlog style shots. And for me, I do a lot of content where I film myself and I'm talking to camera. So my approach to testing out the Action 5 Pro was to use it in this way, to see if it can be my main camera for this kind of vlog style content when I'm out filming, and not rely so much on my other cameras and swapping to a lens specifically for capturing this kind of a shot.
I want to see how this camera handles contrast. Super bright out down there, like sunrise just hitting the valley. I'm in the shade over here, and I want to see how my face looks. I've got this little screen next to the lens so I can see myself, so I can easily hike and get a good shot.
Now, one of the things that I wanted to test is this super night mode. So this is a new feature on the Action 5 Pro that gives you good looking footage when it's dark out. So I'm only being lit by the street lights as I go up this hill, and I'm using the DJI Mic 2 wirelessly paired with the Action 5 Pro. And you can see there's not a ton of light where I'm at. I'm just riding bike up this hill, and you have these lamps, and that's it. With any small action camera, night mode is typically pretty challenging, and this lighting was very dark. So I can imagine if you're in more of a city environment, there's a little bit more light. It's just going to help it even more, and it just makes this camera much more usable that you have this night mode along with all the other features.
Okay, the sun hasn't come up yet, but it's about to. So here's the bright side of my face, pointed dark way, the sun's over there. And let's flip it. So that's the shadow side of my face. I mean, I don't really know how much shadow you're gonna get because the sky is just lighting up right now. But the sun is rising over there. So it's supposed to be super bright. And yes, I'm out of breath. I've already climbed a couple thousand feet from the valley down there. And I'm going up there. It's not an easy hike, but good way to start the day.
All right, so let me show you some other cool features on the Action 5 Pro. So you have this new mode called subject tracking, and it works for vertical content. And so when you put someone in front of it, it's gonna track you left to right, and it's gonna follow you back and forth when you're filming. I mean, kind of a cool thing if you're doing vertical content so that it always keeps you centered. You have your time-lapse slow motion, super night, video, photo. But what I wanna show you is right here. See this time code? You can connect a USB-C adapter and sync your time code. And so you can set this up and you can have it display or you can turn it off. Now, something else that's really cool is now you have 48 gigabytes of internal storage. So you can have your SD card in here, but you can also have internal storage. So if you forget an SD card or you just need a little bit extra, you have it right here built into the camera.
And so here's some close focus. Can we read that? Verdugo Peak, which is where I'm hiking right now, is 3,126 feet high. So, not the easiest climb in the world. Obviously it's not a full 3,000 feet elevation, but that's the peak height. And yeah, I mean, that's pretty much sea level down there. Burbank sits at 600 feet elevation. So almost a 3,000 foot climb up this mountain. Love it. All right, so weather's gone from sunny on a mountaintop to now rainy going through a neighborhood. I'm trying to go find a hill to go climb with my bike and shoot some shots, but you know, now we have a very different lighting setup. It's super cloudy, dark, and we're also gonna see how this is looking. I'm on the Rocksteady. And right now I'm doing my audio with the DJI Mic 2, which is just right here at my chest. It's automatically connected. And also I can record the 32-bit float file as well as the file that's being recorded on the Action 5. So you could have both. But in terms of stabilization, you have a few things that you could do. Right now I'm on just the basic Rocksteady. And the pole is kind of like bouncing all over the place. Now there's a Rocksteady Plus option, which I just switched to. It's gonna crop in a little bit on the footage. It's gonna be more stable. But with both Rocksteady and Rocksteady Plus, if you do dips, like you go side to side and the camera's dipping, you're gonna see that horizon dip left and right. So now I've switched over to horizon balancing, and this is going to keep the horizon level even when I'm dipping the camera left and right. So I'm going up this hill, taking a turn. The camera's at an angle, but you're not gonna see that angle. So you can go up to 45 degrees on either direction, and the camera's gonna auto rotate using the digital image stabilization and always keep it flat. Now, 4K 30 frames per second, I can only go up to horizon balancing. However, there is an additional mode if you bump it into 2.7K. So now I've switched it over to what's called Horizon Steady, and this is equivalent to like a 19mm lens. So I can still get this kind of a shot. But here's the cool thing. I'm gonna rotate the camera 360 degrees. The camera's now upside down and back to normal. And when I was rotating, you didn't see any rotation. So you can do a full 360 degree rotation, spinning the camera around, and it's always gonna keep the horizon level. Pretty cool feature, especially if you're in like crazy situation where it's all over the place and you wanna have that steady horizon. Now I've switched back to 4K and I'm in the standard mode, which is equivalent to like a 14mm. Now this also de-warps, so you don't have the bulbing edges, and it looks more like a traditional camera. But yeah, what do you think about this? What's pretty cool is you go from standard to wide to ultra wide, and this is equivalent to like a 14, but when you go over to the ultra wide, it's equivalent to a 9mm. Now right now I have the stabilization turned off because the stabilization doesn't work if you want it the widest possible. But if you bump it into rock steady on the ultra wide, you get equivalent to 11 millimeter. So crazy width with this lens. You can go super wide, but you could also zoom in. There is a digital zoom function that you can zoom in 2 times. So just depending on how you want to shoot, you have a range of focal lengths just with the different stabilization and different ways that you're shooting. So I just got up to the top here. Let's take a quick peek of how this camera looks in this more cloudy, dark lighting scenario. There's that sun. Okay, so now let's test how the contrast looks. And this is in standard profile, so this is what it looks like. Sun's over here, obviously super bright. Got a little flare coming out the lens, and I'm facing the opposite direction. So this is really what I want to see, how well this camera can handle dynamic range of these scenes with lots of contrast and in this normal setting. By the way, check out my bike mount. So I have this basket where I can put one of these suction mounts. It actually works pretty well. A pole, and then I stick the camera right here, and I'm gonna put it in the ultra wide mode at 11 millimeters. And let's have a quick chat about this camera. So overall, I'm super impressed working with the Action 5, and even just working in the standard color profile. I haven't really been grading any of this footage because I've been wanting to use this camera as a quick solution to just grab some shots and see what the footage looks like, because that's how I want to use this camera. Obviously, put it into D-Log, have a little bit more flexibility with color grading and all of that, and it's something I'm going to continue to test and play with. And wow, it's starting to really rain on me. I'm getting quite wet. I actually bought a GoPro 13 at home, and I was going to test the two against each other, but after working with the Action 5, I don't really have any interest in the GoPro 13 because the whole lens swapping just kind of feels gimmicky to me. And I really like how the HDR looks on this camera, and I just like the image quality overall. And for me, I feel like cameras are just getting to a point where they're all good. Like they can all get good footage. And it's a matter of like, which camera do you like working with, and what are you actually going to use to make the videos that you're creating. And the kind of content I'm really focused on is adventure filmmaking. I'm really diving deep into the nonprofit that I'm running with my buddy Jake. We are sending filmmakers around the world to tell stories to help other nonprofits. And a lot of that content is really run and gun, action-packed, just a lot going on. And so this camera, I think is gonna be a perfect sidekick to just keep in the pocket of my backpack when I'm out filming. And also just like, there's so many cool little features in it. I'm sure you're gonna dig into a lot of the other videos here on YouTube, so there's a lot of little features that you can play with, but for a vlog style camera, for something just grabbing shots like this and mounting it in different places and then just doing some talking head videos, this camera's great. And so I'd love to hear your thoughts on the Action 5, and if this is a camera that you're interested in. Do you like this footage? Do you like what you're seeing? And if you are someone who's interested in doing adventure filmmaking or adventure vlogs or just making videos outdoors, well then I highly suggest you check out this video right here, and I'll see you on the next one.